Hey guys, welcome back to the Full Coat. We're in the middle of the international break, yet another international break, so time to pick up on a couple of little videos that I've been thinking about recently. This first one's going to be about the squad assessment for the year and the final part of it, so looking at our first team attacking options. We've already had a look, if you check out the playlist on my channel, we've had a look at the defenders, we've had a look at the midfield. I'm kind of looking at players who you could see both ways when it comes to midfield and attack, but I'm looking at the attacking options. So largely speaking, those who play wide and those who play up front in our current system. So we'll kick off with our big money signing this summer, our record signing, 65 million for Dom Solanke. And with the benefit of now being into the season, having seen a bit more of Dom and what he's going to bring to Tottenham, I think things are looking a lot more positive than maybe some supporters were thinking about at the beginning of the season when we signed him, especially for the kind of money we signed him for. My personal feeling is that he was a good player. He had a good record. He was Premier League proven, but the price tag was inflated. But I think that, number one, whenever Tottenham try and go anywhere, the price tag seems to be very inflated for us. Case in point, David Raya and Brentford. And then number two, there is a British tax. We know there's a British tax, but to a certain extent, what I would say in response to that is, if you want to drop 65 to 80 million on someone like Gyökeres, who has never played at the top level in the UK, then you would kind of look at the tax of having seen Solanke for seasons playing both at Championship and being very successful, and then translating that into Premier League football with a club that's not going to create as many chances as we likely will. You would argue that there is some value to that. You'd want to see that player do it in the Premier League, because especially at Tottenham, we bring so many players in who have been brilliant elsewhere, and it just doesn't translate. We are making the wrong decisions on the types of players that we bring over, whereas Solanke doesn't come with that risk. We've seen what he can do, we can see his physicality, and that really is one of the biggest strengths, and I think one of the reasons why he was identified quite early on by Ange and the team. The stats line up, the goals are there, but the off the ball work is probably the key thing that set him apart from any of the other strikers that were maybe on the list. It's not to say that others can't do it. There may be others who won't. I think it's what sets him apart from maybe Ivan Toney. But Dom's work off the ball so far this season has been absolutely phenomenal. He doesn't give defenders or goalkeepers or deep-lying midfielders a rest at all. He's a willing runner, which is the first step, but he's also very athletic. He's quick enough. He's very, very strong. He's an imposing figure, and when he comes barreling at players, and I don't mean barreling in a disparaging way, he runs intelligently. The lines of his runs are exactly what you want from a front player pressing. He cuts off passing lanes. He puts himself in positions to make the player receiving the ball or on the ball narrow their field, and that is part of the skill, and he's brilliant at it. And he's committed. So that element of his game has been fantastic. And he started to score goals. He's scoring tap-ins, which means he's in the right areas. He's sniffing out opportunities and he's putting them away. So that's step one. And I think then the natural progression we're looking for, as he gets to full fitness, full match sharpness, and gets to know the players around him and gets to know the system and gets to know the kind of chances that are going to be falling for him at Tottenham, and therefore what he's working on throughout the week on the training ground is those kind of snap finishes, taking his shots earlier just inside the box. We've seen quite a few examples now of him maybe taking an extra touch inside the penalty area. We need to get that time down, get those snapshots off and see where we are, and hopefully we've seen enough from Bournemouth last year that he has got that quality. He can score from, a range of angles within the penalty area. I don't foresee him scoring too many goals outside the box, but maybe that's an element of his game that is there, or that can develop, or that can be brought in. But right now, That's what I want to see. I want to see him being a bit sharper inside the box, taking those opportunities, forcing saves out of the keeper, hitting the target, and then eventually scoring goals, or from the very beginning scoring those goals. That's what I want to see. So yeah, that's the look at Dom Solanke. Looking at Sonny, you can't help but hear a lot of the noise around Heung-min Son this season, and actually it's been going on for a little while. He's washed, his legs are gone, all of this kind of narrative, none of which I think is remotely accurate. Not because I'm sentimental in any way about Son, even though I am, but looking at it coldly, rationally, statistically, looking at him on the pitch, looking at what happens when he's carrying the ball, I don't think those things are true. Has he lost inches in a yard? Has he lost centimetres on the metre in terms of pace from his absolute peak in his late 20s a few seasons ago? Possibly. It's very possible. I'm not sure explosively that is the case, but I think the cumulative nature of it will be slightly different. I think when he's 28, 29, he might have been able to run at the same top speed, but do it more times during a game and have better recovery, and therefore there's less drop off. Whereas now, I'm assuming he can still hit the same top speed a couple of times a game, or during a key moment in a game, as he would have a few years ago. But I don't think he can do it again and again and again. I don't think he can start a game like the games against Man City, where we'd find ourselves in a really deep position, and then on the counter he'd burst from just inside his own half, set away by Harry Kane, and be able to do that at that pace and do it again and again and again throughout a game without there being a drop off in his physical capability. So I think that's definitely the case, but that's going to be the case for every player, and I don't currently see it as negatively affecting the way that we play. So from that position, I'm very happy with where Sonny is physically. Technically, he is arguably our best 1v1 finisher, and maybe always has been, actually, for many years. But he has missed a couple, famously Man City last season, which we may or may not be upset about. But he has missed a few 1v1 opportunities, or not taken 1v1 opportunities. So again, whether it's slightly lacking confidence and trying to go that one step further along before taking the chance that he didn't used to do, whatever that is, we've seen a little bit of that. Hopefully he comes back after the international break, having not had to really exert himself too much during the international break because he's been injured, and we can get him back to firing and taking those chances. I still think he's our best option on the left-hand side. I don't think that's any surprise. And he offers us so much in a 1v1 situation when he's confident and he's firing. So 1v1 on that left-hand side, taking players on, coming inside, going to the line, and then cutting balls across or back. I think he offers us so much. I think there's plenty of joy. He's going to get plenty of assists, going to the line and then pulling the ball back into the box or to the second post. I think he's going to have opportunities also to cut in onto his right foot and to score goals as well. So we want to see that happen. We want potentially to be seeing 8 to 10 goals from him, and probably a similar number of assists, maybe 5 to 8 assists at the very least. If you get Sonny throughout this season up to 20 GA, then that's probably a very good season for us. It probably indicates that we've done quite well. So let's see where he can go. But again, I'm happy with where Sonny is at the minute. And again, you can almost see with signing someone like Hyuk. I know it's a very easy comparison because obviously they're coming from South Korea, but you've got young, talented, up and coming wide players like Hyuk that we've just signed and we'll see in January, and like Odebear, who we've signed this season. And then we've got Sonny now heading towards the end of his career, and the value could be lowering the amount of minutes, so allowing Son to have full impact in the minutes that he does have, and then also having him there as a mentor and a role model for these other wide players coming in who can be the legs and who can put the minutes but might be more inconsistent. So we'll see how we get on with that. Staying, I guess, on the left-hand side, let's talk about Timo. There's not a great deal more to say about Timo that I haven't said in videos looking back at some of our games. He, I think, he's always been low on confidence since he left Chelsea. So since leaving Chelsea in the circumstances that he did, he's been low on confidence. That's been shown even when he went back to Germany. That has continued. He offers a lot, and actually he hasn't been playing badly since he's come back into the team due to injuries. He is very, very quick. He breaks the line. He holds position that causes oppositions to think about the way that they're playing. He can be very, very effective in pinning teams who have attacking fullbacks because he's so quick going the other way. And actually, because he knows he's so quick, he knows he just needs to shift or poke the ball and go, and he's got a really, really good chance. So when there's grass in behind, he can be a super effective player. What we need is end product, and end product from Timo is that final ball. So beating your man easily is wonderful. What do you then do with it? Making sure that you connect with that final pass. You put that final pass in a place that we get a high percentage chance and scoring goals. He is going to get 1v1s because his skill set puts him in that position. It's brilliant. And in fact, as the player, most likely to be caught offside, probably our most offside player since Jermaine Defoe. He's done quite well. He's not getting caught offside. He's timing those runs really well. We're playing the balls at the right time. He is getting in. He's had 1v1 opportunities. He's had kind of 3 really big ones in a couple of games, and he's not taking them because he's really low on confidence. And those 1v1s were, to my recollection, what were the issue at Chelsea, or part of the issue at Chelsea that meant that he was unsuccessful there, and it continues. And 1v1s are a confidence thing. Anyone that plays knows this. 1v1s are 100% about confidence. It's not massively technical in terms of you find yourself in a position. It's about your decision making. It's not about the technique of making the finish. The finishes tend to be relatively simple, but it's the psychology around how fast your brain is moving, how you're feeling, where your confidence is at, and therefore your shot selection, your movement selection, the timing, all of that is psychological, as opposed to has he got it in the locker to use his right instep from the left hand side and just bend it inside the second post, or tuck it near post, which Harry Kane was absolutely brilliant at. Give the eyes and tuck it near post. There's actually always a giant gap near post, but it's a really high risk finish for a right-footed player off the left. And so you've got to be super confident to be able to score that goal at that level in high pressure moments. The easier finishes are to hit it really hard through goalkeeper's legs, try and get it through before the keeper can get down and put any kind of barrier in the way, or to bend it round towards that second post. The other finish for Timo is trying to take it round the keeper, and I think he really struggled with that recently. He showed that he probably should have taken one of the 1v1s at least against Man United by going round Onana, who was so far out, and then put the brakes on for me at the wrong time. If you're coming, come. And Werner could have very easily stepped past him, and I don't think Onana would have had the length to get down and get hands across and get a touch on the ball. He then took that into the following game in the Europa League, and it was just a horrendous touch coming up across his body. The ball was played across by Mikey Moore, and for whatever reason, he's decided to try and take a first touch with the inside of his right foot to go round the keeper, and it slid off his foot and has taken him to a really poor angle, at which point he then compounds that poor touch, an execution with a poor decision to try and still finish it with his left foot into the side netting. So confidence, I don't know if Timo can get confidence back. I will assume that everything is being done by the coaching staff and by his teammates, because he's a very, very well liked player, and he's a hard worker, and he's a good member of the squad. I got every confidence that people are behind him, and they are doing everything they can for him. But once that confidence is gone, it's really, really hard to get it back. You'd argue, the cliche about one goes in off your bum and it comes back may or may not work for him. I don't know. I've got a feeling with Timo, his confidence in that particular element is so fragile that he could score his next 1v1, maybe score the next 2 or 3, but then there'll be another drop off in it. So what we really need is, as he's playing in a wide position, is can he really, really get it firing, taking people on and then providing assists and doing that bit really well, which is what he did last season. He was very successful for us. If he can nail that bit to build a base level of confidence and then take a few of these chances and obviously score a few of those tap-in goals that hopefully are going to come his way, that might be the best that we ask for. And it might just be that Werner is a stopgap. We're not going to make that signing permanent. I think if we did make that signing permanent, 50% of the fan base would, spontaneously combust. I can't see it myself. He'd have a cost, and he's an expensive player. So in terms of wage structure, I wouldn't say he merits, being signed and coming in on, whatever it is, 165k a week. I don't think that's probably the right message to what we're trying to build at Tottenham either. So if he can do basically the things that he did last season, this season, across a whole season, get those assists, get a few goals, I think he's a valuable addition. He's arguably the third choice in the position. So yeah, let's see where we go with Timo this season. Richie. We desperately need Richie back again. I've spoken about this in videos. We've not had anybody to take minutes off Solanke. Great to see Lancashire get minutes, and that's probably because we haven't got Richie, and he did well. But we desperately need the physicality of Richie back. And we saw last season that Richie managed to stay fit for a little period, and he went on a little goal scoring run in that period. And the key to what he was doing that was adding to us, that was a foreboding for what Dom Solanke comes in and I think does even better, is pressing and harrying. And in fact, he's done this in previous seasons as well, Richarlison. So we should give him his due. He gets in, he makes it awkward for midfielders and fullbacks and everybody by, charging around and getting in their way. And he's very athletic and can be physical. And we can regain possession in the press from him doing that. He did it successfully last year. Solanke's doing it brilliantly. I think Richarlison, there's no great drop off if we bring in Richarlison and he's doing it. Richarlison, I would argue, is maybe better in the air than Solanke. So that's another thing in terms of swapping the two of them, giving them both minutes in the same games or trying to change games or affect games in different ways. I think Richarlison can be quite good in the air, which we don't have any aerial threat realistically, and I'm desperate for him to come back. I'm desperate for him to show that he can stay fit for a season. I wouldn't be surprised if Richie, the end of this season is a time that we maybe look to move on Richie, in terms of finance and getting value for him and looking at another option or looking at something else. But we desperately need him back. We need him scoring goals. He is a good penalty box goal scorer. He can also play off the left if we need him to as well. So again, that giving us those options to spread the minutes out so that we can keep our first teamers all, a squad of 25 people. We can keep everybody ticking over when there's injuries, when we've got lots of games. Let's keep people ticking over, enough minutes to hand around so that everybody comes into games fit and sharp and looking good. So we just need him back, and we'll see what we can do with Richie, and hopefully he's got into a place where he himself as a person he's happy and his mental health is in a good place, if we can get him back on the football pitch and we can get him playing well, I think that is probably one of the biggest drivers for him in terms of keeping himself in a good place as a person. So desperate to see it, and I think it's massively going to benefit us if we can. Looking on the other side now, you've got Brennan Johnson, and again with the benefit of being into the season now compared to where we were going into the season, and some of what happened around Brennan in the early couple of games, he has answered his critics in absolutely the best way possible. He's done it on the football pitch. He's been brilliant. He has got a skill set which is absolutely vital to the way that Ange wants to play his system. He's got better, I think, this season. He's shown some movement forward in terms of when he arrives and how he arrives in the penalty area. There are not situations that we see the ball spilling out on the right-hand side. He's there. He's there. He's getting those tap-ins that are so difficult to defend when that ball's coming across. Even if there is a defender in a good position, it's really hard because the defender's going to be facing the ball coming across. He's got Brennan Johnson off his shoulder coming in behind. If Johnson gambles and he can go on the inside shoulder, which he doesn't do very often, he can gamble, and that's going to force the defender to make a move in the penalty area, which could lead to a penalty. Then the defender has to try and wrap his foot around and send it back the way it's came, or, you know, otherwise he's pushing it into his own net. He certainly can't look to get out the other way if Johnson stays on his back shoulder. So he's doing all of that stuff really well, and what he's done brilliantly so far to get a few of his goals is he's showing that he can pick out that second post, that side netting, just out of the reach of the goalkeeper. Even if the goalkeeper is on his line, he's managing to find that very
very corridor with an arrowed shot, kind of laces finish into the side netting, which is unstoppable if it goes through a defender's legs. And again, any shot across multiple players, there are loads and loads of options for how that can work out positively for the attacking team, and it's just really hard for defending teams because it can go anywhere. So he's done that well. He's been brilliant. He's scoring goals. There'll be dips. There will be games where he doesn't score. There'll be games where he misses chances. There'll be games where he hits the post instead of scoring. And we as a fan base and a supporter base need to be behind this player because he's an excellent player and there is a lot more to come from him. He will get better. I think his ball carrying can and will improve as well. So if we get behind him and remember what he's doing right now and what he's capable of, then hopefully we can see that consistently. And like all the great players, you don't drop off very long. 1 or 2 games without getting a goal, 1 or 2 games without having a key moment or an assist, and then you're back at it. And then the last thing I'd say about Bren is he has been really good this season defensively. His athleticism, his strength, he's getting back in, he's blocking crosses, he's helping Porro in that right back position. I think Porro needs a lot of help in that right back position. Johnson's been doing that really well. So he is willing, he's committed, he's getting back in there and he's making a difference. So we should be very happy with the player that we've got, instead of wondering what it'd be like to have Nico Williams, because I promise you Nico Williams is not that interested in sliding in and blocking crosses from Matoma. Or that's from what I've seen from him, how I feel. Odebear, we haven't seen a great deal of. We know he is exciting, he's dynamic, he's explosive, he can play multiple positions across the right, the left, he can play down the middle as well. You could potentially use him as a 9 or a false 9. All of these things are available to Odebear in terms of the type of player that he is. I think he's going to be really inconsistent this season. He's a young player, and if we're hanging our hopes that, in big games or in really tight moments that Odebear's the one that you bring on or he's on the pitch and he makes the difference, I think that's probably asking a lot. I think he's got plenty to learn in terms of when he takes players on, what the situations are and how he's doing it in every instance. I really like the fact that he's willing to go outside or inside off both flanks. That makes it so much harder for opposition players and for team systems, because if he's willing to threaten you on the outside and threaten you in the little channel going inside towards the edge of the penalty area, then you start dragging other players in, you start moving other players about. They have to move in that situation, because if you leave a player 1v1 in those situations and they're getting success, it's going to lead to really good chances for us. So you're going to start dragging and moving players around, and the better he gets at that and the more consistent he is at doing that, the more that's going to have a positive effect. I still think he's young. I still think he's plenty to learn. He really does need to learn when it's okay to take players on and lose the ball and when it's not. That's going to be a big part of his learning curve this season. And defensively, getting back in, making himself a player who's making it difficult, cutting down passing lanes for opposition, and then being part of the press when we're pressing high up the pitch. I don't want to put too much on his shoulders. I think he's an exciting player. I think he's got plenty to learn this season. And hopefully what he does is he just comes in and he contributes. Come in, get a couple of goals, get some assists, be a positive piece of the puzzle going forward. And then I think in the next couple of seasons, if Odebear fulfills his potential, he could be a very exciting wide player for us. Quite a long video, so I'm going to wrap it on Will Lancashire, who obviously has now come into the first team fold. He had a phenomenal season in PL2 last year. He scored a ton of goals. He scored loads of different kinds of goals as well, which was nice to see. He's got those shades of Harry Kane that we as Tottenham fans, look for in everyone and everything. And obviously coming through the academy, we're 100% behind him. What's interesting with Lancashire is that if you looked at him at academy level, he looks like a man playing youth football, but then when you put him in the senior team, he does look like a young player. All right, so that physicality that he may have had an advantage playing in academy football won't necessarily be there, but he's got the basic building blocks of a strong striker, a strong attacking player. So I'll be interested to see. All I really want to see from Lancashire is when he gets his minutes, what's he doing with it? I want to see at that level, what's he doing? Right foot, left foot, hold up play. Can he head the ball against Premier League level or top level defenders and midfielders? All of the attributes. I'm not putting any pressure in terms of I want to see goals, I want to see assists, and I want to see this. The pressing and the willingness, I think he'll do, and I think he can do it successfully. And I just want to see the basic building blocks of what he can do as a striker, so that we can start to see what we want to develop and what kind of striker he's going to be in the future. So very much looking at it through a coaching perspective, like a young player is, rather than saying, well, I want 10 goals and I want 5 assists. I don't think that's helpful with Lancashire. What I think is helpful is hope he stays fit, hope he gets plenty of minutes, and then when he gets those minutes, let's see what he's doing with those minutes. Let's see what kind of player he is, and let's see what kind of player he potentially could be. But yeah, delighted to have an academy product like him in the first team. I'm going to leave it there. I know I haven't spoken about Mikey Moore also coming forward into the first team, but I am going to make another video and I'm going to look at some of the academy prospects and loan players and what maybe we are looking for from them this season and how they can develop. So anyway, thanks for listening. Enjoy your international break. It's horrible. And yeah, come on Tottenham.